Well, shifting gears, as the director of Closing Bell aptly put it, we are talking about the fashion industry right now, rather the business of fashion. And I'm joined in studio by the director of an African showcase that has been 20 years in the running. South Africa Fashion Week has been the pillar of the African fashion industry and boasts of being the only business-to-business platform here. Joining me now is Lucilla Booyzen, who's the director of SA Fashion Week. Lucilla, thanks so much for your time. SA Fashion Week has been going on for quite some time, and I'm quite interested in how business has been for the fashion guys, because business of many companies that are listed here on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, from retail to manufacturing and even banking, hasn't been so good because of the economy.
Well, yes, the South African Fashion Week, as you know, has been going for 21 years, and we essentially build the businesses of the designers.
Sure.
So if a designer wants to show at the South African Fashion Week, they have to either supply stores or they have to have their own stores. So essentially they already should have that business background to put them on a trading floor, because that is what it's all about. It is, when you've seen Gert-Johan Coetzee's show, it's like a stock exchange, because the buyers are buying, the clients are buying. It is just not formalized, but essentially that is what the Fashion Week is all about. It's a marketing platform for the designers, assisting them to get the correct publicity or the right publicity to grow their businesses.
I mean, talk about Gert-Johan. I mean, his marketing strategy, many have seen. He has managed to connect himself with the right or strong kind of brand influences in South Africa's celebrity landscape.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering about the other designers who perhaps don't have that influencer capital under their wing. What's business like for them?
Well, I think it all differs, you know. I think that our strength in South Africa sits in our diversity. So you get, because we are so multicultural, every designer has their own following. And they can create their own little hub where they can do business, and where they can trade and create jobs. So that is the power of fashion. You know, it is real immediate job creation and wealth creation.
You know, I must ask, is Fashion Week as big of a deal in South Africa, and particularly of late as things have gotten tougher, as it is in New York or in Milan or even in Paris?
You know, somebody once said to me, and it gave me a great compliment. They said to me, they actually called me from the New York Fashion Week, and they said to me, Lucilla, this is just like the South African Fashion Week, just Fashion Week is just much smaller. And that is really, we actually model our Fashion Week on the international standards. Although we do it differently, we actually unearth designers, we nurture them, and we take them to market. Whereas the International Fashion Weeks only market the designers. We complete that full circle. So we also show in groups, which makes it much more economical for a designer to take part and to get the publicity that they need in order to grow their businesses. Because without publicity, there is no growth.
I mean, how? I mean, if we just talk money terms and we break it down, I mean, say for instance, Fifi wants to enter the design space, of which I won't. I think I'll stick to my lane. But I mean, what are the costs of coming on board a platform like SA Fashion Week as a designer?
So if Fifi wants to come on board Fashion Week, it's going to cost Fifi just 45,000 Rand to have your own show. And you are essentially only paying for your models and for the producer to produce your show. So it really is nothing if you think sort of what things cost. I mean, some people spend 40,000 Rand just on one dress. So the South African Fashion Week is heavily sponsored and heavily supported by our fantastic sponsors, like Minnie, like Woolworths, you know, like Sandton City. They all understand, Cape Wool, they all understand what we are trying to achieve, and they are, that we align ourselves with them. We are aligned, and so therefore it makes it easier. It makes it cheaper for the designers.
Sure. I mean, Lucilla, I mean, 45,000 Rand might be quite a big sum for most people, but let's put it in the perspective of what the return on investment could possibly be. So I happen to see quite a lot of the influencers on my Instagram, you know, sitting in the front row of Fashion Week. Of course, it's not only about them. The return on investment, ultimately, you're on a marketing platform where you could potentially get a buyer. What are the outcomes or the returns that some of those designers have received? Are people buying their garments?
Yes. So we run the South African Fashion Week trade show parallel to the collections, and that is a wholesale platform. So while the collections are showing to the media and the clients and the buyers, the trade show is selling directly to the boutiques. So it's an absolute trade floor. It's 4 days of trading. People might see it as 4 days of glamour. Of course, it is also 4 days of glamour, but it is 4 days of real business, making connections, connecting with the media, sharing the voice, and actually building your database and building your business. That is what it's all about.
I mean, I was in conversation with a lady that I happen to go to the gym with. I do go to the gym, despite what it might look like. And she was telling me that she actually used to make wedding gowns, and that was her trade. And in fact, she's gotten out of that business now and gone into mannequins. Quite weird. But she says one of the reasons why she got out is because of the influx of imports, even of high-level sort of luxury stuff. How has the influx of imports, particularly from Asia, impacted South Africa's fashion scene?
Of course, it's influenced it. But I think that the designers, because they have their own followers, can actually manage far better than the big departmental stores. Because it's not really, if you want to wear a Efimol or you want to wear a Palesa, you go for Palesa. Palesa has created a desirable brand that is linked to her name. There's an emotional connection. So you are not going to buy something the moment you can afford it, the moment that and that is all about aspirations and about creating aspirations. The moment you can afford it, you will go and buy a Palesa, and you will talk about that Palesa that you are wearing, because you will be proud of wearing that Palesa, and that is the strength of the creative fashion industry. The soft power that nobody in South Africa understands yet. They are doing it, but they're not getting the power. They're not understanding the soft power of fashion.
I mean, I think ultimately, in terms of if our local designers were relying on locals to buy their brands only, they'd be pretty hungry. And especially, I speak about the fact of the state of the economy, and also because, I mean, the rich are rich, but the rich are very few. A lot of the designers I've interacted with talk about the importance of the export market. Guys like your Laduma talk about, you know, the importance of making sure that you design a product that is marketable outside. Do you think that is also where our local designers need to be looking at, marketing or designing products that are palatable for your global citizen?
Well, I believe that the designers should focus locally. They can become multimillionaires doing business here. If you take Efimol, he sells 6, 7, 8 suits a week. It is huge. I don't think people understand the money.
Your business clients?
To his clients, to number one, the people that can afford that. He's built his database. If anybody wants a wedding suit, if anybody wants a suit to look beautiful and look different, they buy from him. The same with Palesa. They all have, I promise you, you can become a multimillionaire in South Africa if you do fashion.
Then what are the current guys who are doing fashion not getting right? Why are we not speaking?
They are getting it right. They are getting, everybody that shows at Fashion Week have their own store. All their suppliers stores sort of nationwide. They supply all the online stores. The South African Fashion Week designers are making money.
Sure.
They are not sitting sort of shy of money. It's only the people that when they start, it's very difficult to start. But the moment you get that penny drops of how to take your talent and turning it into money, they make money and they run. I mean, look at Gert, look at you talking, look at David Klale, for instance, look at Clive Rundle. He's got a beautiful shop. He sells to, do you know that we had a lady jetting in to come and see the Fashion Week from London? So you know it's a complete false perception to say that the designers are struggling. The designers that are struggling are not the designers that are the top designers. It is like a little business that is struggling. All the potential in South Africa to do business is absolutely huge, far better than any other country in the world. The designers in Paris, the designers in Italy, in New York, really battle to even get noticed. In this country, if you have your business side right and you understand pricing and quality control and delivering on time, and you get your manufacturing right, you get your whole fashion sort of circle going, you are in business and you are making money and you creating jobs.
Lucilla, just lastly, I mean, my producer actually tells me that one of the designers was actually awarded with the Louis Vuitton award. Just speaking to your point that the designers locally are doing right, you can perhaps add to who that was. But how are the designers competing with your foreign shops, your likes of Zara, your likes of H&M, which are also creeping in to eat some of their pie? And I talk from the point of the recent examples whereby you've had these big guys with scale actually replicating local design stuff and selling them under their own name. Is that are those areas or those shops competitors for the local designers, or is your luxury market a completely different space?
Of course, it's a threat. But as I mentioned before, each designer has got their own following.
Sure.
And it's like having the strength is in the small businesses. And having a small business, you are the captain of your ship. And if you are good, you have everybody at your feet. And yes, of course, it is the big stores have got an influence. But I don't think they've got bigger influence on the manufacturing sector than what they have on the designer sector, because a designer garment is not in competition, because if you, for instance, are a manufacturer, you manufacture shirts, you're in direct competition with China because your buttons, your fabrics, your everything. But if I sell a name, I sell a brand, I sell a desire, there's no money linked to it. There's no, you can't value it. You know, I want to buy a Fifi and I will not eat for 6 months if I want to really buy a Fifi. It's emotional. It's not and I've seen that. You know, I did a show in Paris and I took a stylist with me, and he did not eat, I promise you, for 2 weeks, and he bought himself a 16,000 rands worth of Versace jacket. And that is what we're talking about when you talk designer fashion, and that's what people don't get. They don't understand that power.